Of the Bahamas Northern Campus. Police looking for 2 men. And this week we begin a series on the government's report card in office.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all, I'm Shoshina Roll-Parkinson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, it was a big day for the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus as UB officially opened its first residential facility on Grand Bahama. This addition is expected to improve the quality and delivery of education on the island. Sabrina Brown has our top story.
It was a red-letter day for the University of the Bahamas Northern Campus as a cross-sector of the Grand Bahama community gathered to witness the official opening of the Hawksbill Hall. The $4.5 million state-of-the-art dormitory can accommodate approximately 80 students. President of UB, Dr. Rodney Smith, says the Northern Campus is experiencing significant growth and development, and the commissioning of the Hawksbill Hall adds to the growing list of milestones at the Northern Campus.
This hall will have a transformative effect on the campus, and it will be a living and learning environment for our students. It will begin to change the campus from a solely commuter campus to a residential campus. The cafeteria will bring much-needed food services to the campus and indeed the area. The campus's living and learning environment will help to significantly improve student life on campus.
The new living quarters at UB was made possible through a generous gift from the Grand Bahama Port Authority. Vice Chairman Sarah St. George.
My father, Edward St. George, and Sir Jack Hayward both dreamed of this campus and donated 50 acres to build it. But by 2015, it was clear these dorms were a must. So the late Sir Jack and I joined the COB chairman and the Minister of Education to announce that the government and the GBPA would both commit the funding to make it happen. The GBPA contributed $3 million, and the dorms began construction.
Deputy Prime Minister and Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, K. Peter Turnquest, says the opening of the first living facility at UB North is significant.
University of the Bahamas is developing into a system of campuses, programs, schools throughout this country, fulfilling its mandate to assist in the development of our people and our country. It's something for us to be very proud of. As we move on in our independence and development as a country.
The DPM says this is another step in the government fulfilling a campaign promise to the Bahamian people.
One of those promises was that we would offer free tuition to every student throughout this country, but more particularly Family Island students, so that they are not limited by their circumstance or by where they come from. This facility here today will help us to fulfill that promise.
Sabrina Brown, 7S Network News.
In news from the crime beat, 6 illegal migrants captured on the island of Bimini. Reports say shortly before 10 this morning, a team of police and immigration officers acting on information went to the Admiral Hotel in Bailey Town where they arrested the migrants. The group comprised of 5 Indians and 1 Brazilian. They were found to have entered the country illegally and were subsequently taken into custody. Investigations are continuing. Meantime, police in Grand Bahama are searching for 2 armed robbery suspects who robbed a business establishment of an undisclosed amount of cash. The incident reportedly occurred on Saturday, May 5th, shortly after 2 a.m. 2 males who were described as wearing black hoodies and faces covered entered the business establishment on East Sunrise Highway, brandishing firearms. They robbed the establishment of cash and its workers of personal items before fleeing on foot. A male is in police custody and he is assisting with this investigation. Police also needs your help tonight in locating 2 Grand Bahama men. The first is Omar Roll of Sea Grape, 8 Mile Rock. He is wanted for making threats of death. Roll is 42 years old, 160 pounds, 5 feet 6 inches tall, dark brown eyes and dark brown complexion. Police say he is considered armed and extremely dangerous, and if you see him, you are not to approach him. The second suspect is 51-year-old Raymond Moxie of 8 Mile Rock, who is wanted for questioning on the charge of shopbreaking and stealing. Moxie is of dark brown complexion with dark brown eyes, average build, 180 pounds and 5 feet 9 inches tall. Police say he is considered armed and dangerous as well, and you should not approach him. If you know where these suspects are tonight, you are urged to call 911 or 919. Switching gears now, in just a matter of days, the governing Free National Movement will celebrate its one-year anniversary. This week, we will take a special look at the party's accomplishments and the road to victory. Tonight, we begin our series with a man who helped to strategize the party's landslide victory in 2017. The Honorable C.A. Smith was a chief strategist for the recent general election, but he says the work into that victory began in 2014 when he, along with a small group of persons, looked at the political landscape and determined a strategy for winning the next election. He says from surveys to polls and hearing the concerns of residents and the challenges the country faced at the time.
This group did a lot of things. In terms of surveys, in terms of having interviews, in terms of meeting and talking to people, to try to get a real feel for what the Bahamian people were feeling, what they were thinking about their own future. And on the basis of these discussions, surveys, and analysis, we began to put together a strategy for winning.
He says in speaking with residents, there was one common concern.
There was a loss of contact between themselves and that of the Progressive Liberal Party. They also were expressing concerns about the direction that the country was going in.
He says they worked hard to re-energize their base as well as re-engage the youth. He says at first they had no idea that they would have secured that many seats.
As we began to roll out our strategy, we were beginning, and as we were beginning to get our feedback, we began to see that not only were we going to win, but we were going to win big. In fact, the 35-4 really was a stunning victory. But about 5 days before elections, we expected that there were 2 more seats that we expected to win. And if we look back at them now, we recognize the mistakes that we've made. One was because we selected what I consider a lackluster candidate, just did not have the drive and the energy to get people to work with him. And the second one was because the candidate that we selected, this was a seat that nobody believed that we could win, and so we didn't put a candidate in that area until just a couple of weeks before election.
But nonetheless, he says before the election, the FNM did have its fair share of challenges, and Smith believes that the PLP thought that this could have been used to their advantage.
Dr. Minnis really had 2 serious leadership challenges that, in spite of all of the controversy that went on, in spite of the fact that he had all of his members of parliament who supported the FNM go to the government and say, we no longer support you. He was willing to remain leader of the FNM, even though he was not leader of the opposition.
Grand Bahama supported the FNM overwhelmingly, and now 5 members of parliament from the party represents the island. But 1 year later, he says there's much work to be done.
We were elected for 5 years, not 1 year. And so any promise that we made, come to us 4.5 years from now and says, you haven't done that, because we have that period of time to complete it. Secondly, the budget that the Free National Movement is working on today is not an F&M budget. It is a budget we met in place by the Progressive Liberal Party. And so what Bahamians must recognize is that many of the promises that we made were not included in the budget which we met there. We will have to look at our budget, which will be presented to Parliament in June, and then you would see a real F&M budget. And then you would see a number of the manifesto promises incorporated in that budget.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, continues in just a moment.